The summer sun had painted the sky golden. The warm morning breeze gently brushed against the faces of the father and daughter. The father walked with a broad smile lighting up his face, his dark skin glistening under the sunlight. Every moment he spent with his daughter was a treasure to him. The little girl walked beside him with tiny steps, clutching his hand tightly. She smiled, just like her father, because every moment with him filled her with joy. "Dad!" the girl called, her voice trembling with excitement. "I have a surprise for you." The father grew curious when he saw the sparkle in her eyes. "What is it, sweetheart? Tell me," he said softly. The girl pulled her bag forward and opened the last zipper. She pulled out a small folded piece of paper and handed it to him, locking eyes with him. "I wrote you a letter. I want you to read it," she said. The father was surprised by her unexpected gesture. He took the letter and smiled faintly. "Of course I'll read it, but why make me wait? Should I read it now or later?" The girl shook her head. "Not now, Dad. Read it when I get back from school. Promise?" The father couldn't resist her innocent request and grinned. "Okay, promise. I'll read it when you come home." The girl hugged her father's neck and planted a warm kiss on his cheek. "Bye, Dad," she chirped before running toward the school gates. The father watched her go, his heart swelling with peace as he saw her happiness. He tucked the letter into his pocket and left only after ensuring she had safely entered the school. As he walked, the father couldn't stop thinking about the letter. He wondered what his daughter had written. Maybe she'd written about how good a father he was. The thought made him even happier. Yet, deep down, he sensed something more lay beneath the depth of her gaze. Perhaps this letter wasn't just a thank you. On his way home, the father began noticing the world around him. The streets were as busy as ever, people heading to work, children rushing to school. But his mind kept drifting back to the letter. What did she write? He wondered. Had she expressed her love, or was she sharing a secret? When he arrived home, he took the letter from his pocket and placed it on the table. For a moment, he simply stared at it, imagining her handwriting, the words she'd carefully penned with her small hands. He longed to read it but resisted, respecting her wish to wait. Instead, he left it on the table and turned to his daily chores. Yet the letter lingered in his thoughts. Was it her way of expressing love, or a secret she'd entrusted to him? The father grew impatient to read it but vowed to wait, honoring his promise to his daughter. While his daughter was at school, the father devoted himself to searching for work. He left home early each morning, scouring job listings across the city. Yet every application ended with replies like insufficient experience or no positions available. Each rejection pierced his heart like an arrow. He wanted to provide a better life for his daughter, but finding a job was anything but easy. One day, he realized he couldn't wait any longer. He needed to earn money immediately to meet his daughter's needs. Swallowing his pride, he resolved to take any job he could. First, he started as a temporary laborer at a broom factory, hauling heavy boxes, organizing the warehouse, and standing for hours on end. His hands grew calloused, but he endured it all, reminding himself it was for his daughter. But even this job didn't last. A few weeks later, as work at the factory slowed, they let him go. The father returned to the streets, searching again. This time he found work distributing flyers for an advertising company. With a heavy bag slung over his shoulder, he roamed the city streets, handing out brochures under the scorching sun. The exhaustion was relentless, but he pushed through for her. One day, while cleaning a restaurant's windows, a man approached him. "We're looking for someone hardworking like you. If you're interested, you can work here part-time," he said. The father accepted immediately. Now he split his time between handing out flyers and washing dishes at the restaurant. Slowly, the money he earned through sweat and toil began to add up. It was enough for his daughter's needs, but he still longed to give her more. With no mother in the picture, the father had become both parent and protector. His daughter adored him. When she returned from school and saw his tired face, she'd hug him and whisper, "Dad, I love you so much." Those words instantly melted his weariness away. In the evenings, after work, he spent time with her. They ate together, he helped with her homework, and he read her bedtime stories. Yet the letter on the table gnawed at his mind. What had she written? His curiosity grew with each passing day. One night, after his daughter fell asleep, he sat at the table and picked up the letter. His heart raced as he traced her handwriting. He yearned to open it, yet fear held him back. Had she noticed his exhaustion, his desperation, or had she poured her love onto the page? He couldn't wait any longer, but honoring her wish, he set the letter down again. Tomorrow, he thought. Tomorrow, when she comes home from school, we'll read it together. Evening had fallen. The father was at home with his daughter. After returning from school, his daughter hugged him and, looking at his tired face, asked, "Dad, you must be really tired today, right?" The father smiled warmly, touched by his daughter's sensitivity. "No, sweetheart, I don't get tired as long as I'm with you," he said. However, his eyes drifted to the letter sitting on the table. He realized he couldn't wait any longer. "Sweetheart," he began softly, "I want to read the letter you wrote me. Is now a good time?" The daughter, seeing the excitement in her father's eyes, smiled gently. "Of course, Dad, you've been waiting to read it. Come on, let's read it together," she said. The father picked up the letter from the table and carefully unfolded it. His daughter's handwriting looked as if it had been poured onto the paper. Every word was written with care by her tiny hands. The father began to read. "Dear Dad, I love you so much. You are my hero. Every morning you take me to school, and every evening you spend time with me. You read me stories, help me with my homework. You are the best dad in the world." As the father read these lines, a smile spread across his face. His daughter's love for him deeply moved him. But the letter continued. "But Dad, do you know something? You always tell me you're happy. You always say everything is fine. But I know you're not happy. You say you can afford anything, but you can't. You pretend you're full, but you're hungry. You say your work is going well, but it's not. Dad, why do you lie to me?" As the father read these words, his eyes filled with tears. His daughter's ability to understand his inner world both surprised and moved him. He continued reading, "Dad, I know you're tired. I worry about you. Please always tell me the truth. You are my hero, but even heroes have sad times. I am here for you, always. I love you so much." When the father finished the letter, he couldn't hold back his tears. He hugged his daughter and stroked her hair. "Sweetheart," he whispered, "you are my everything. You're right, I do go through tough times sometimes, but because of you, everything feels easier. I'm sorry for lying to you. From now on, I'll share everything with you." The daughter, seeing her father's tears, hugged him even tighter. "Dad, you are my hero. I'll always be by your side," she said. The father felt a sense of peace wash over him at his daughter's words. He hugged her and said, "You are my everything, sweetheart. Life feels more meaningful because of you." The daughter felt safe in her father's arms. "Dad, I want to share everything with you. When I grow up, I want to be as strong as you," she said. The father felt proud hearing her words. "Sweetheart, you are already so strong. I'm proud of myself for raising a daughter like you," he said. That night, the father and daughter sat together and talked for a long time. The father shared his life story with her. He told her about the struggles he had faced, but how everything felt easier because of her. The daughter listened intently, and her admiration for her father grew even more. "Dad, you do everything for me. I want to do everything I can for you too," the daughter said. The father, hearing these words, couldn't hold back his tears. He hugged her and said, "You are my greatest treasure, sweetheart. I am so proud of you." That night, the father had a long, heartfelt conversation with his daughter. They sat side by side on the small couch in the living room. The father looked into his daughter's eyes and poured out his heart. "Sweetheart," he began, his voice trembling slightly, but sincere. "You know how hard it's been for me to find work. There are days when I can't even earn enough to put food on the table, but seeing you happy makes it all worth it." Tears welled up in the daughter's eyes as she listened to her father's words. "Dad," she said softly, "I know how hard you're trying. You do everything for me. But please, always tell me the truth. Seeing you sad makes me even sadder." The father's heart warmed at his daughter's maturity. He hugged her and gently stroked her hair. "You're right, sweetheart. From now on, I'll share everything with you. I won't lie to you anymore, because you're my biggest supporter." The next day, the father felt more motivated. His daughter's faith in him made him feel as if he had been reborn. He continued his job search and finally received an offer from a construction company. The work was tough, but the father was ready to do it for his daughter. He left home early in the morning and returned late at night. His hands were calloused and his face was sunburned, but every evening his daughter's hug washed away all his fatigue. In the evenings, the father and daughter continued to spend time together. The father now shared everything with his daughter. They cooked meals together, he helped her with her homework, and sometimes they just sat and talked. The daughter made sure to show her father how much she appreciated him. "Dad, I'm so proud of you," she would often say. These words were like a balm to the father's heart. One evening, the father decided to surprise his daughter. He had bought her a small gift. When the daughter excitedly opened the package, she found a set of colorful markers inside. "Dad, these are amazing," she exclaimed joyfully. "I love drawing." The father felt a deep sense of peace seeing his daughter's happiness. "I know, sweetheart. I know how talented you are. Maybe one day you'll become a famous artist," he said with a smile. The daughter hugged her father and thanked him. "Dad, you're my everything. I don't know what I'd do without you." Hearing these words, the father couldn't hold back his tears. He hugged her tightly and said, "I love you so much, sweetheart." Time was now passing more peacefully and happily for the father and daughter. The father had proven himself at his job in the construction company, earning recognition for his hard work and honesty. He now had a more stable income and could provide a better life for his daughter. However, the true happiness came from the love and trust they shared. This bond helped them overcome every difficulty. One Sunday morning, the father decided to surprise his daughter. He woke her up and said with a sparkle in his eyes, "Come on, sweetheart, we're going to spend a special day together today." The daughter, curious about her father's excitement, asked, "Where are we going, Dad?" The father smiled mysteriously. "It's a surprise. Come on, get ready. I'll tell you on the way." The daughter quickly got ready, and they set off together. The father took her to one of the most beautiful parks in the city. The park was filled with colorful flowers, and the chirping of birds spread joy all around. The daughter was enchanted by the park's beauty. "Dad, this place is so beautiful," she exclaimed. The father felt a deep sense of peace, seeing his daughter's happiness. "Yes, sweetheart. I wanted to spend some time here with you. We can take a walk and chat," he said. The two began walking along the park's paths. The father told his daughter about his successes at work. "I'm in a better position now, sweetheart. I can do more for you," he said proudly. The daughter's eyes sparkled at her father's words. "Dad, you already do everything for me. I see how hard you work, and I'm so proud of you." The father was deeply moved by his daughter's words. He hugged her and said, "You are my everything, sweetheart. If it weren't for you, I might have given up, but you give me strength." As they walked through the park, the father wanted to tell her something else. "Sweetheart, every moment I spend with you is so precious to me. I know your mother isn't with us, but together we can overcome anything." The daughter looked into her father's eyes and smiled. "Dad, you're my hero. Mom was strong and loving, just like you. I always remember her, but I also know I have you by my side." The father's heart warmed at his daughter's maturity. He hugged her and said, "You are my greatest achievement, sweetheart. I'm so proud of you." After the park, the father took his daughter to her favorite ice cream shop. As she enjoyed her favorite chocolate ice cream, she looked at her father and said, "Dad, I had so much fun today. Spending time with you is amazing." The father felt a deep sense of peace seeing his daughter's joy. "I love spending time with you too, sweetheart. We'll have more days like this from now on," he said. When they returned home that evening, the father and daughter cooked dinner together. They sang songs and laughed in the kitchen. The father said to his daughter, "It's so important to me to live every moment with you to the fullest." The daughter hugged her father and said, "I love you so much, Dad. You're my everything." That night, the father and daughter fell asleep together. Nothing could separate them now. They had learned that their love for each other could help them overcome any challenge. The father felt his love for his daughter grow deeper with each passing day, and the daughter fell asleep with the peace of knowing her father was always by her side.